This video is brought to you by AOM Sharp School. You can go to awesomesharp.school to find out one of the largest catalogs for iOS development videos. Let's go ahead and check out some courses. You can see that on AOM Sharp School you can find courses about MVVM design pattern, core data, MV pattern, full stack iOS development, reactive programming, even Swift data and server-driven UI, Create ML, test-driven development, Reality Kit, and many more. And there are also workshops. These will be live workshops accessible to everyone. The pricing is just insanely low, only $50, and you get 2 to 3 hours of live workshop on Zoom about Vapor, and then you have Swift data fundamentals and even unit testing. So go to awesomesharp.school and learn iOS development. All right, so before we start implementing these statistics, I want to show you what it will eventually look like. And what do I even mean by statistics? So we're talking about this portion on the top, which is showing you the today's item that are due, scheduled item, all items, or completed items. And you can always open up your reminders app on your iOS device and see this. So this is the same exact functionality that we're building. If I click on the completed items, it's going to take me over here, show me all the completed items, show me the scheduled item, and show me the all items and so on. All right, so that part is the one that we are supposed to be building next. So where do we start? Well, in order to create statistics, and we currently don't have it, you can see on our screen, we need like 4 different boxes over here eventually. But before we do that, we need to create the algorithm for finding out all of those different things. Meaning we need to find out if we are able to correctly calculate the statistics. Okay. For that, I'm going to be building something called a reminders stats builder. And I will go and put that inside a model. Now you can go ahead and put it inside a different folder called builders, but since we only have one stats builder and only one builder anyway, this is fine to put it right there. Reminder stats builder. The whole responsibility of creating the reminder stats builder is basically just to create the statistics, like the data, calculate it, and return it to us. You can create it as a class, you can create it as a struct, it doesn't really matter in our case. I'm just going to create it as a struct, reminder stats builder. Okay, so reminder stats builder is going to have one function, which will be build, where you are going to be passing in some sort of a results for the list, and it will be fetch results because the statistics will be based on, well, number of reminders, but it will also be based on the number of the list and each reminder. So all of those different things will be taken into account. Now, fetch results is available in SwiftUI, so we will have to import SwiftUI. And when it will build, it will return us the reminder stat values. Okay, now what exactly is reminder stat values? Well, reminder stat values will be a very simple structure which is going to hold different values. Okay, so everything that we want to display on the screen, the reminder stat values is going to be kind of like a holding point of all the values we want to display on the screen. So we want today's count, we want schedule count, we want completed count. So you can consider it kind of like a plain model, which is going to be holding this data. The functionality for the build is that it is going to take in list of my list or fetch results of my list, and it's going to allow us to return reminder stat values, which will have all the different values, all the statistics. Once we have the my list results, the first thing we need to do is to just get an array out of it. Like if it will be great if I can just get a reminders array, like all of the reminders in all the list. So over here, I can go through my list results. I can perform a map function. And for every item that is inside that, which is basically my list, I can call a reminders array, which by the way doesn't exist. So we will have to do that. And using that, we are going to be combining also. So let me go ahead and do it in multiple lines so that it maybe make it a little bit clear. Let's alignment issues you can see going on. Okay, so we get this, we get the array after mapping, and on that we can perform the reduce because we want to go ahead and add all of the arrays together. So basically, in other words, what we're trying to do is we're trying to go over the mylist results, which is all the list available in our reminders application. We're mapping over it, and for each list, we are trying to get the reminders based on that particular list, meaning the reminders that are contained in that list, and adding them together. So in other words, at the very end, we will get one array which will have reminders from all the different lists. Okay. Now the next thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we are implementing the reminders array, because currently we don't really have anything called reminders array on the my list. So if I go back to my list, you can see that there is no property called reminders array. We can go ahead and create this property. There we go. So now we have a property called reminders array. It is simply going to return you an array of reminders, which is based on the set. So we go over the set, we run the compact map, and we convert everything to reminder, or else we return an empty array. So let's go back again. So this should be okay now because now we have a reminders array. Now, one of the things that you might be thinking that why did we pass in the my list results? Why not just get all the reminders? Because that's the easy request to do. And you can definitely do that. That is perfectly fine. If you want to go that route, you can go do that route. The only reason I'm actually passing my list results, which are the fetch results of my list, is that we are going to be invoking this from the reminder stats builder, and we already have that information right there. So instead of making another request to the database and get all the different reminders, we're just reusing it. But I think you can get all the reminders, and that should be fine too. I don't think it's going to be any bad for performance because there are not many going to be the reminders. I mean, it's not you're picking up like 50 million reminders, right? Okay. So once we get to this build function and we have the reminders array, this is the reminders array for all the lists. So this means if we have 5 lists and each list have 5 reminders, so this particular array will have like 25 reminders from all the list. Once we have that, now it's time for us to simply go ahead and create smaller functions to calculate today's count, to calculate schedule count, to calculate all count and completed count and all of that different things. So this is our job, the next thing that we want to do. So what we're going to do is eventually it's going to return you reminder stat values with some sort of the count. Now you can see that right now I'm not really setting the count because there are default count, but we need to inject the count right over here when we're creating the reminder stats values object. Let's go ahead and create the first one, which is calculate all count. So I'm going to go ahead and add a function over here. You can already see it's called calculate all count. You're going to pass in the reminders, and it's just going to return you kind of like a sum of all the reminders that are completed, and well, I guess in this case it's going to return you which are not completed because it's all count of reminders. Okay, so if it is not completed, then we're going to add 1 to it, and we can call this. So if we want to get all the count, we can go over here inside our build function, call that, and that is the all count value that eventually we can pass right there. And that's the same exact thing we're going to do with other stuff. Like if I want to simply go ahead and return all the completed count, and this is just returning you the count itself, the integer. So all of them are returning you integer because we are simply returning the count itself. So for the completed count, we're going to do the same thing. Completed count will get the completed count itself. And this is going to go with everything else we have, like calculate today's count. Are there any reminders that are due today? So in this case, we're going to make use of the isToday function and use that. So let's go ahead and create and call that function with the today's count. And finally, we have schedule count. Any appointments, any reminders that are scheduled. So this means if the reminder date is not nil or reminder time is not nil and the reminder is not completed, then result +1. So because if it's completed, it's not really scheduled, it's already over. So that will be our schedule count. So you can see that we created these small functions to calculate a particular aspect. And now finally we can call reminder values. And we can simply pass all of this information there. There we go. So now we are creating a reminder stat values and we're passing all of these values that we just calculated. Okay, let's go ahead and see what's going on over here. There we go. And that's it. The next thing that we want to do is to display our stats on the screen. So let's go to the next lecture and see that how we can display our count on our home view.